everyone, I'm Allie Buchman with the Potomac Bead Company, and today I am going to do a fun little bracelet for you featuring our disc duos down the middle and then some diamond duos along the outside. I'm calling this the Dynasty Bracelet. It has kind of that 3 X's going on here right in the design and has almost an imperial look to it. For the bracelet, if you do need any of the materials to design this and to make it along with me, on the left-hand side here, we'll do a little drop-down menu to link to the different materials to purchase from me online at potomacbeads.com. Or if you don't see that little list, sometimes mobiles will block it or other web browsers as well. Underneath the video, there's always a list and links to the beads used in the video as well. In the little description box, if you just hit that show more underneath the video, that'll give you a list and a linking to all of those different products. For the Dynasty bracelet, we are featuring the disc duos, which the disc duos are running down the center of the project. Here I have that pastel Bordeaux color, that pretty purple, and you're going to need about 12 to 15 of the disc duos. Smaller wrist, you're going to need about 12, larger wrist, about 15 of those to run right down the middle. In addition to the disc duos, you are going to be using some DiamonDuo beads. So here I have that brown iris bead right along the pastel Bordeaux, which kind of has a tiny bit of a little bit of a green hint to it. And for the bracelet that we'll be designing together, I'm going to be using the white light rose color. So it's almost a kind of a ceramic-y rose look that gives a nice soft coloring to the jet bronze disc duos that I have running down the center. For the diamond duos, you're going to use approximately 22 to 28 of the DiamonDuo beads. Again, it can vary a little bit depending on your wrist size. For both the disc duos and the diamond duos, 1 tube will get you more than enough of the beads to actually do the bracelet. So you'll be fine just purchasing 1 of each of those, 1 of the disc duos and then 1 of the diamond duos as well. The seed beads that create that lacing effect and kind of that regal effect in between are 15s and 11s. For the 15O seed beads here, this is the jet bronze color of the 15Os. And in the Miyuki brand, these are manufactured in Japan and then coated in the Czech Republic. Here in the design that we're doing today, I have the transparent topaz AB, and again, they're the Miyuki 15O beads. I prefer the Miyukis because they're a little bit more rounded to the Toho when it comes to the 15Os. So generally I use the Miyukis, but either will work for this project. The Tohos, you just want to make sure that if you decide to do any color switches, stick with 1 brand for the size that you're using, because the 15s of the Toho are going to be a tiny bit bigger than the Miyuki. For the 11O seed beads in both the little sample piece as well as the project we're doing today, we are using the galvanized silver here in the 11O, and that is a Miyuki 11O seed bead. To hold the whole bracelet together, we're going to be creating a clasp with one of our cup buttons, and the cup button here is the magic wine color and has that pretty purpley pink and bronze hues that pick up well based on the beads that we're using for the design. The whole project is held together with some wildfire beading thread, and I'm using the green color for both sample piece as well as the bracelet that we'll be making. It fades really well into the different colors. I use it 95% of the time when I'm actually beading. And I'm using the 0.006 or the 0.15 millimeter when you're working with it. And we are going to be using, I know some of you aren't crazy about this, but you can get a different design look. We are using 2 needles. So you're going to need 2 needles and about 6 feet of your beading thread, 1 needle on each end of the thread. I have size 10 needles here. 10s, 11s, or 12s will work for the projects. You could even go with 13s, but they're a little bit crazy small. So I would recommend a 10 or a 12 if you're working on this. I'm going to be working with 2 10s. Also having handy a thread zap or a thread burner is nice to burn your thread actually off your roll, as well as to burn the edge of the thread in order to kind of create a knotting effect when you're done with the bracelet and tying off the thread. I also have a pliers that I have handy every time that I'm working because it just makes it so much faster and easier to actually pinch off and flatten out the end of the thread, which is going to make it way easier to thread your needle. So that's a little helpful hint. Always have a little pliers on hand. I am working on a nice workable surface. Normally I work on my bead on it boards and kind of travel around with my boards as I work with them and have kind of designs going. And it's a nice workable surface that you want to have, that you don't have too much distractions going on. It's going to make it easier for counting and picking up your beads. If you do like to glue, you can have some super new glue handy, and I use that for gluing the thread ends together. To get started, we are going to be going down the center row. So you want your piles of your DiscDuo, as well as your 11 and your 15 OC bead. And we're going to start with a button. So go ahead and put thread zap off 6 feet of your beading thread. Put a needle on each end, and we'll get ready to get started. So to start the Dynasty bracelet, you're going to have your 2 needles on approximately 5 feet to 6 feet of your beading thread. And we're going to start at this point here with our DiscDuo. Because this is a 2 needle project, we are going to come back up and down the project, but at this point we will add our button for our clasp. To add the button, I'm going to pick up a 15, 11, 15 with my right needle and drop that down onto the thread. From there, I'm going to pick up my cup button face down with the bowl side down and take one of the needles in my hand through the left hole and one through the right hole of that button. Pulling the threads in and making sure that it's equal. Those seed beads just kind of sit right down in the cup button and just add a little bit of silver tone into the middle of that magic wine. After adding those, I'm going to kind of separate the needles back out. And when coming out the back of the cup button, I'm going to kind of start that Xing pattern, put on 3 15s on both the right and the left needle. And again, because it is a 2 needle project, when you're working with 2 needles, pretty much all the time, whatever you do with the right needle, you're going to do with the left. Switching over then to an 11 seed bead, we're going to crisscross through that seed bead. One needle is going to go from the right side to the left side, and the other needle is going to go from the left to the right. Again, you want to make sure to pull your threads even, and that when you come up after adding that cup button, that you have the same amount of thread in your right hand as you do in your left hand. Coming out the 11 seed bead then, I'm going to add 2 of the 15s on the right needle and 2 on the left. Now we get to go ahead and actually put on our DiscDuo beads. So the DiscDuo beads are going to get put on so that the holes are facing up and down. If you happen to have a DiscDuo color where there is a top and a bottom, or it has a special coating on that, you're going to want to keep track of that to make sure that it's always facing in the same direction. With this jet bronze, it doesn't matter because it has the same color on both sides. With both the left and the right needle, we're going to go through the left and the right hole of the first DiscDuo. So one needle is going through the left hand hole, one needle is going through the right hand hole, and you're dropping that down next to your seed beads and your cup button. After doing so, keeping the needles to the right and to the left, you're going to take your right needle and pick up 6 15-0s on the right needle. This needle then is going to go back to the beginning of that DiscDuo, down to the base of the hole, and back through that same hole. So I'm sticking with my right hand thread on the right hand side, and what that's going to do is throw those 6 15s right off to the right hand side. Again, we're going to repeat the same thing with the left needle, and I feel more comfortable threading with my right, which most of you are going to. So you can switch it to your right hand and just kind of flip your project in your hand and do the same thing on the opposite side. That's also going to put 6 seed beads right on the outer edge. When it comes to the middle then, to get our little X, we're going to do basically what we did right below the cut button. So we're going to pick up 3 15s with the left, 3 15s with the right needle, and then we get to crisscross through an 11. So for this base row here, which is just the DiscDuos again, whenever we pick up an 11, we're going to cross the thread through it. So one needle goes one way, one needle goes the other way. That way the bead's going to sit with the holes going horizontal. Coming out of that 11, repeat picking up 3 15s with both the right needle and the left needle, and let those drop down next to the 11-0 that you just X'd. From there, we're going to pick up our next DiscDuo with one needle going through the right-hand hole, the other going through the left, and then we're going to pop those 6 seed beads around back through and on this side. This continues the whole baseline of our bracelet. So you can see as we progress here, we've added in the DiscDuos with the 6 beads on the side. And as I continue adding and going through the last of the DiscDuos, I'm continuing just like I would be, adding my crisscross there in the center, and then coming back through and adding 6 of the 15s on my needle, sewing back through the same hole of the DiscDuo that I'm coming out of, and then I'm at the end here. So I have it basically just right into fit. I'm going to do my loop for my cut button here, because we're still going to come back down the project and then come back up, but we're going to do our loop. To do the loop, I'm going to continue with that crisscrossing kind of design, adding on both the right and the left needle, 3 seed beads, and then crisscrossing through an 11. So I'm going to put on the 3 seed beads, and then crisscross through the 11 that's already there. You can choose then whether or not you want to make your loop with your 11-0s or if you want to make the loop with the 15s. I'm going to make my loop with my 15s, so I'm going to pick up approximately 28 to 32 of the 15s. And if you are doing a regular clasp too, I should have mentioned back at the beginning, for this bracelet you want to use some wire guards, and you can use a toggle or a lobster or whatever clasp you find easy and convenient for you to get on. We have a lot of nice magnets if you need any too, in the easy elegance and some of the higher end clasps too. There's a lot of good options. Once you have all of your 15-0s on, and I'm just working with one needle at this point, I want to make sure that my beads are big enough that my loop is going to fit around the button. And to go around the button again, I put all these 15-0s on, and I have them through the right needle. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring them through the left needle. To finish with this right needle, I'm going to take it back through the 11-0 at the base of those beads, and that's going to create a loop. With the opposite needle, I'm going to retrace through that entire loop, which is going to reinforce the loop itself. That's going to make sure that my loop is nice and durable, because wherever your clasp is where you're going to have the most tension on the bracelet. And again, if you are using a regular clasp, here's where you would put the wire guard and the regular clasp on as well. Like I said, we still have one more trip down towards the button, and then we're going to finish up back here near the loop. So we'll have another opportunity to put one more strand of thread, having 3 strands then through the loop. My needle and thread then are going to come out on opposite sides, and kind of restart the whole right and left side of things. And I'm going to get ready to add in my diamond duos. So go ahead and pour out a couple of your diamond duos here. And we're going to come down the right side for about an inch or so and then switch off to the left. To get to the point where I'm ready to put in my beads, I have my right needle and I'm going to sew through the 3 at the base of that little X. And then I'm going to sew up through 3 of the beads along the side. Because remember on the DiscDuo, along the sides we put 6 beads. You're always going to sew up through 3, grab an 11, and sew down through the 3 on the opposite side. What that's going to do is make a little diamond or a little peak there. Coming out those 3 beads then, grab an 11 and a diamond duo. You want to make sure that your diamond duos are facing the correct direction here. So on the left hand or on the right hand side as I'm working, I'm going to go through the left hand hole of the diamond duo with a little bump facing upward. After putting on the 11, put on another 11, and then catch on to the first 3 of the 15s on the side of the next disc duo. That's going to pop that diamond duo right in the little hole right there. Put on an 11, go through the next 3 beads. I'm going through 4 there, so I'm going to back out, add 1 more, and go down the 3 here on the side. Once I'm out the 3 on the side, it's time to add my next diamond duo. Again, an 11-0 goes on. Then your diamond duo, making sure that it's facing in the correct direction. And then another 11-0. Coming down then to your next disc duo, you're going to pick up the first 3 out of the 6 beads that are on the side of the diamond duo. Add an 11-0. Which creates that little peak, and sew down the next 3. Give a nice little tight yank, and then I'm going to switch over to my left needle and do the same thing. So the left needle, is going to come down. I usually switch kind of to the right hand to work with this. You're going to go all along this outer line of seed beads here. And we're going to pop in that 11-0 seed bead. So coming down this left side now, I have the 11-0 on. I'm going to go through the 3. And when I'm on this left side, I want to make sure that the diamond duo is facing the correct direction again. So I'm going to add an 11-0. And this time the diamond duo with the bump facing up, I'm going to go down the right hand hole. So on the left side, I'm going to go down the right. And on the right, I'm going to go down the left. If you need to, you can kind of just sit them in place, and that way you know exactly which ones to pick up. You're then going to go to your next diamond duo, sew through the next 3 beads, and when you're coming out that 3rd bead is when, again, you put on your 11 to create that little point. Sew down the next 3 beads out of those 6. And then when we're out there, again, we're going to pick up the diamond duo. So I'm going to pick up 1 11, pick up my diamond duo, pick up an 11, let that drop down into that little basically hole that we've created, and pick up the next 3 of the seed beads along the side of the disc duo. We're going to do this down the left-hand side and the right-hand side, just a couple of beads at a time, and then making sure that you're switching sides so you make sure that your tension stays the same. So I'm going to do another 2 on the right-hand needle, another 2 on the left-hand needle, and switch back and forth the whole way down towards my cut button. So adding in the last of my diamond duos here, I'm going to go up my last 3 seed beads right along the side. Get that last diamond duo in place. Add my 11-0 for my little peak. And then coming through on the left-hand side here, you can see I came down through the 3 beads, just like I would be continuing. And with this right needle, I'm going to go through the 3 beads as well as the 2 before the 11. I'm going to go through the 11, which is at the base of the cup button, up through the beads, those 3 beads sitting on the left-hand side of the cup button, through the cup button, and if at the same time you can go through the first 15-0 that sits on the top of the cup button, that's going to help you because it's a tight space and it's hard to get through there, right through the middle, if you don't get through there on the first try. Coming down, then I'm going to come down the opposite side here, going through, down the 3 beads on the opposite side, and then back to crisscross through the 11. So it's going to bring me out on the left-hand side. With the left needle then, I'm going to do the same thing, which will bring me out on the right-hand side. So I'm going to go through the 2 beads there, crisscross through the 11, go up through the loop of the cup button, out the top of the cup button, down the side of the cup button to the back, all along those seed beads. And as I come out, then after the last 15, cross through that 11-0. Again, what that's going to do is bring your needles out on the opposite edges. For the last pass now, I'm not going to need any DiscDuos or DiamonDuos, so it's just the center pass that we use the DiscDuos, and then just the second pass that we do the DiamonDuos. What we are going to use is the 15 and the 11s, and we're going to use those to catch on to, the second hole of the DiamonDuo. If you want to, you can also decorate the outside of the DiamonDuo, and I'll go over that. You'll basically use 4 of your 15-0s. To get to the outer edge, with the right needle coming down the right side, I'm going to go back through that whole line of 15-0s and exit through my first side 11-0. When I'm on the side now, I'm getting ready to start. Push all those DiamonDuos to the exterior. And when I'm coming out the 11-0s, which is always going to be at the peak section here, I'm going to add 3 15s followed by an 11. So through the DiamonDuo, right there, and that gets those seed beads in place. Add another 11 after the DiamonDuo, add your 3 15s, and sew through the next 11-0 peak. Continuing on, 3 15s, 1 11, outer hole of the DiamonDuo. Coming out the DiamonDuo, 1 11, 3 15s, go through the 11 at the peak on the side of the DiscDuo. So you can see it forms that nice kind of X pattern. Again, 3 15s, 1 11, through the DiamonDuo. Opposite, 1 11, 3 15s, through that peak 11-0. I'm going to do just like we did when we were putting the DiamonDuos in place. I'll do a couple on the right hand side here, and then I'll flip over to the left. Again, if you're way more comfortable sewing with your right hand, you're just going to flip the project over so you'll see the back of the DiamonDuos. Again, coming out the outer edge here, you're going to go through that line of 15s, and then we're going to exit through the 11. When I exit the 11, we start that pattern of 3 1, 3 15s, 1 11 through the DiamonDuo. If you would want to decorate the outside of the DiamonDuo, here's what I was saying. You can add 4 of your 15s, just like we did with the DiscDuo. You can kind of arch them around the DiamonDuo. I like the point to stay empty, so I'm going to take those off, but I did want to show you guys that option. Once you have your beads in place, then I'll just take those right off my needle. I'm going to go in and just continue down this left-hand side, which I flipped over to be on the right, with that pattern of that 3 1. You can see that nice kind of lattice look going on. And to continue the Dynasty bracelet, it's just that same pattern over and over. The nice thing is it kind of has that grouping of 3 with the DiamonDuo and the DiscDuos right along the outer edge, but it's a really easy netting actually that you're doing right along this outer edge. So I've gone down a little bit now on the left, and I'll flip over so you guys can see the nice pattern and the nice netting effect going on between all of the beads. I'll continue now the whole length of the project, finishing up with the 15s and the 11s. So as I add in the last of my seed beads here, I have one side that I'm done, and I just have my right hand needle coming out the last 11L. On this left hand side, I'm going to go through the 11L, just like I did on the right, but then I'm going to reinforce that loop. Remember I said that we'd have one more chance to kind of reinforce that loop. And I'm going to go up through all of the 15 O's right along the side here. It might be a little bit of a tight fit depending on kind of your needle size. If you need to, you can also switch to size 12 needle. I prefer to work with a 10 as much as I can. And then I'm going to crisscross through the 11 there and reinforce this whole 15O loop. I usually prefer 3 passes with my clasp, meaning 3 threads going through, but I will sometimes do 2, so depending on what thread you're using. If you can only get 2 times through the 15, that's okay as well. With a size 12 needle, I can usually get through the 15 O's about 4, sometimes 5 times the Miyuki 15 O's with the .006 wildfire thread. As I come around to the last couple beads here, I'll then cross through that 11L one more time. And as my needle comes out then, the 11L, you can grab with your pliers a little bit if you need to. I'm going to come down the side of all the 15s, getting to the right hand needle. So what I want to happen is I want my thread ends to end in the same place. That's the cool thing with working with 2 needles. You don't have to tie off your thread lots of places and do half hitch knots and all of that. We have the place along the side. I try not to do it right at the clasp. I'm just literally going to take off my needles, take my thread, and tie it in a knot. You're going to tie with your right hand first and then switch over with left, switch the strings one more time. That's going to get you that square knot right over left, left over right. And I did 3 complete knots. Grabbing my thread burner, you can use a little dab of super glue if you want. I do my burner and leave about 1/8 to 1/16 of an inch there, just a little bit. And then take my thread burner and burn down those edges. What that does is it creates a little ball at the end of the thread and actually prevents that knot from coming apart. You just need to make sure when you are using the burner to do that, that you are not burning through the thread that's actually connected with the project. But after you knot and burn down the thread, you have your Dynasty bracelet completely finished. Well, the cool thing is you could try this out with some other things too. If you wanted to run down the middle of the DiamonDuos, you could run our faceted round trios down the middle or round trios as well. And when it sits on, it has a really nice kind of light feel to it. Right there with the cup button, and you have it on. And again, if you do need any of the materials for this Dynasty bracelet, you can go back to the beginning of the video to the little drop downs on the left-hand side. Or if you don't see those little drop downs underneath the video again, there's that little description that says what the video is about, what products are used. You can hit the show more button and that'll drop down to a full listing of all of the beads that are used in the videos. We do that constantly at the store, kind of pulling up lists for people. That's the easiest reference point for you to get exactly how many or get links to all the different products that you need and a list of those products as well. If you do like the projects, you can also subscribe to this YouTube channel. You get regular updates on different products that we carry, what's going on at Potomac Bead Company and also in the beading world, as well as some great tutorials, designs by myself, as well as other fun beaders that give me permission to do the videos for you guys. Also, if you want to stay connected with us, you can check out PotomacBeads.com. You can also join us on Facebook and Instagram and all that good stuff. You can also join our Facebook group, which is a closed group for beading and jewelry making. Ask to become a member there, and it's a really great way to interact with other people that love to make jewelry, whether it be wire working or seed beading or all different jewelry craft. It's a really great community and a really great forum of people that are helpful and interactive and really praising of other people's work, as well as, like I said, they'll get back and they're very helpful if you have questions or need help with design or just technique help as well. As always, everybody, have fun when you're designing. And if you get a chance to pick up these materials, have fun making this Dynasty bracelet.